Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. We're the Movie Couple. I'm Dustin.
I'm Wendy.
And this is going to be our review for The Kingsman. The Kingsman is directed by Matthew Vaugh and stars Ralph Fiennes, Gemma Arterton, Harris Dickinson, and Djimon Hounsou. One man must race against time to stop history's worst tyrants and criminal masterminds as they get together to plot a war that could wipe out millions of people and destroy humanity. The Kingsman is a prequel to the original Kingsmen and the Statesman. Was that the second
The
one?
Golden Circle.
The Golden Circle. And from what we saw in the trailers, we were super excited. It looked like it had amazing action. We were really curious on how they were going to actually put all of these pieces together and show us the foundation of the Kingsman. Or the Kingsmen.
Yeah, the Kingsman is this one. And then the Kingsman is the very first one that we saw with Taron Egerton. Mm-hmm. And then after that came the Golden Circle. Obviously very excited to see how the organization got its start. I mean, what triggered it? Who are the founders and kind of how that connects, if we go full circle, how it connects to the very first film when Taron Egerton's Eggy became a part of the organization. So I don't think it's a secret that I personally, I don't know about you guys, I personally didn't enjoy Golden Circle as much as the first film. So I was wondering, before going to watch this movie, which way this film was going to sway. Was it going to sway towards a little bit more Golden Circle, or was it going to be a little bit more closer to the original that I really enjoyed so much? And I feel like it's a perfect blend of the two, but leans closer to the format of the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of really, I don't want to call ridiculous, but it's a bit out there. A couple of scenes are a little bit wacky and out there, but in the world of it all, it makes sense if you take a look at even in the first Kingsman.
One thing that I really did not expect, though, from this movie was just how much exposition was actually going to be in this movie. It was a lot longer than I was expecting it to be, and it was, I'm not going to say a slow build, but there was just a lot that they built up to for them to finally get to the point of, all right, we are now forming the Kingsmen. So I was really kind of caught off guard on just how much they were going to dive into this world. They were going to dive into the life of the man who actually created and founded the Kingsmen.
Yeah, it's interesting, Dustin, bringing up the point that there are a lot of exhibitions, because there is so many different storylines that are being told in this film. Like, it's a war movie, but then it's also a origin story of how this secret organization came to be, and also of a man trying to find his purpose, and a family film, and it's all in it together, with a lot of action, with a lot of historical characters, such as Rasputin is in this, who is really a standout in this film. But for a minute there, I was losing sight of are we focusing on more Ralph Fiennes' character for, as the Duke of Oxford, or are we focusing a little bit more on his son Conrad? Because for a bit, it was really Conrad's story that was driving this movie, and then later on it shifted back to Ralph Fiennes, which naturally, why wouldn't you want to shift the focus back on Ralph Fiennes? But I felt like sometimes that made it just a little bit. There's a lot of, as a general audience, I felt like there's a lot of information coming at me.
Yeah, well, and in a sense, you kind of needed to, because you really needed to build up how much you care about these characters, their motivations. Even though I do think they needed to do a lot of it, I think they did a little too much. It still kept me entertained through most of it. There were some parts where I kind of slipped away and then came back,
yes.
and then slipped away and then came back. They never completely lost me, but there were still moments that I was kind of like, oh, where exactly are you going with this kind of a thing?
Yes.
And how are you building this up? They still were able to pull a lot of good surprises out of this, a lot of good moments, not just the action scenes, but just some of the moments to where you're just like, oh, they went there kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And to be able to build that up, I think was very well handled. It wasn't expertly handled, but it was well done.
Yeah, I will say that. And what I was really looking forward to, other than, the story of how the Kingsman organization came to be, was the action. And I gotta say, as much as I love Ralph Fiennes and I love Gemma Arterton, the standout for me was the Rasputin Djimon Hounsou fight, because we saw bits and pieces of it in the trailer, so I definitely don't feel like there is too much of a spoiler going on here, especially not going into details. But there is something to be said, the way they filmed it, the way it was choreographed, and also a major great point in that fight specifically was the costume that they had Rasputin in, because it's long coat.
And his style of fighting.
And it's just a flurry of like wardrobe whirling around him. It just made it look really epic and cinematic, which was really great. And then also there is another fight scene with swords later on in the film. I won't describe between who and what and how it ends, but the cinematography, I've never seen it done in a film before, at least out of all the action films that I've seen. But they actually placed the camera, I feel like they either put it on the blade or on the guard of the rapier. And it was cool to be able to see the sword coming in for, and then being parried away, or as the attacker, thrusts and then disengages. And because it's such slight movement that if you shot it in a master shot, if you watch fencing or if you know fencing, a disengage is very, very quick, and it's a very just flick of the wrist, so you don't really see it. But the way they did that, and if you are a fencer or if you know swordplay, then you would recognize that move, and it's just really cool to see that. That whole third act blew me away. So the second act, what Dustin was talking about with the story, where it's like, where are they going with this? I felt like second act, they had so much going on that they're trying to accomplish and tell, and it just felt a little overstuffed, where I was kind of like, okay, let's just push through this. But once the turning point happened, and that brings us into the third act, I think the movie, it was just a fun roller coaster ride from there. So if I were to like rank the 3 Kingsmen movie in the franchise, I would say the very first one with Taron.
Oh, most definitely.
And Colin Firth. Then this one with Ralph Fiennes and Harris Dickinson. And then Golden Circle being the last one, because the action is still really sick in that one.
Yes, and I would have to say that it is a lot closer probably to the first one than it is to the second one in quality. I really did. There were moments in this movie that I really did enjoy. And yes, the Rasputin fight, the one sword fight that Wendy mentioned are the big standouts, but there's still a lot of other moments that are just really exciting and really fun to watch. However, there are some moments where you really do have to do a little bit of suspension of disbelief, to where there's this one moment where a guy has his leg blown off and he's just kind of sitting there going, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And I'm like,
are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. And I'd just be like, "Ah!" And I'm just like, okay, I'll go along with it. So if you go into this movie, I would recommend go in there with a lot of fun. There's still a lot of good exposition, a lot of good storytelling. Every now and again, just learn where there's spots where you can probably get up and go to the bathroom, get some more popcorn, and then come back. Because this movie is pretty long.
Yeah, it's a bit long.
So, but overall, what would you rate this movie, Wendy?
I enjoyed it very much in the, obviously, the action aspect of it. I think the storytelling could have been shortened, like the exposition part of it could have been shortened a little bit. And I understand why they needed to take us on all of these story arcs and to flesh out these stories, so it really makes sense at the end. But I felt like it was just a little bit excessive for me, especially in the middle chunk of the movie when it's so important, and I felt like it lost steam a little bit. But of course, they picked it right back up for the third act all the way to the end, and I would give this movie a check it out.
I enjoyed it too. I think it's a movie that you really should go and see in the theaters if you feel safe doing that. There are some parts that are a little slow. I would give it a matinee it.
If you're curious about our rating system, it is listed in the video description below. So go ahead and check that out if you're wondering, like, what does that mean?
Those are our thoughts for The Kingsman. If you guys have checked it out, comment what you thought about it below. Please don't put any spoilers down in the comments, just in case someone else has not seen it yet. Comment below how you would rank each Kingsman movie if you have seen all 3. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.